You're not that person yet, possibly because you're living in anger. So this is going to remove the anger so you can finally be your authentic self. You can finally be the person you were meant to be. We are not meant to live in a refrigerator box on the street. We're meant to be happy. We're meant to have a place to live. We're meant to have joyful people around us. We're meant to be able to have plenty of food and all of these other things. We're not meant to starve.
This is Unconditioning, Discovering the Voice Within, with Whitney and Jenkins. Hello and welcome to the 102nd episode of Unconditioning, Discovering the Voice Within, where I bring on guests and we talk about the inner authentic voice and the challenges and the rewards that come from following it. This episode I have with me Katharine Giovanni. Katharine is a 3-time award-winning best-selling author, speaker, and one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry. Katharine has authored over 12 books, including her latest release, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness: Unlocking Your Power. Katharine's journey is one of remarkable resilience, surviving stage 3 breast cancer and overcoming the hardships of a turbulent childhood. Her experiences have shaped her deep understanding of forgiveness and personal transformation. I really found this conversation with Katharine very powerful as she gives you practical tools for understanding how to confront forgiveness and also considering what is unforgivable and what that means and how to integrate these lessons and concepts into your life so that you are no longer holding on to what is preventing you from moving forward. So here is my conversation with Katharine Giovanni. Enjoy.
It's such a unique way of forgiving that you've never heard that I always go through the whole system in a podcast because not everybody likes to read. And I need people to really get this because our world is
Yeah.
so negative.
Right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I can help.
So my podcast is focused on following the inner voice or authenticity. And as someone who guides people through a process, I feel like that leads to their authenticity. You personally had to go through a lot of things yourself in order to be able to be that guide for people. So, one of the first things that I like to ask my guests is, when is the first time that you realized that you had this inner voice of your own that you were able to listen to and follow?
Not to stretch people's brains out to the point of pain who are listening, but I am very intuitive. I don't use the word psychic purposely because I think when you hear the word psychic, you think of a used car salesman. No disrespect to car salesmen, but you think of a crystal ball, you think of a grifter, you think I'm going to take your money. Everybody on the planet is intuitive. I wrote a book about it called The Little Bird on Your Shoulder. I write a lot of books. And I realized I was intuitive when I was a kid. That's when it started. And I heard these voices in my head, and it was like my own secret friend. And they would talk to me, the voice would talk to me, I would talk back. Never gave me the answers to test questions. It was very irritating. But I realized very, very early that nobody else could do it.
Hmm.
And because it was the 1960s, society to this day, I'm very sad to say, to this day, society has this nasty habit of if you show any signs of intuition, they slap a "you're crazy" as a bedbug sticker on your forehead. And back in the 60s and 70s, they would have given me meds and stuck me in a psych ward. So I didn't tell anybody. And I mean nobody. In fact, the first person I told that I was intuitive was my husband 33 years ago. And I'm 63. And I've been using intuition as a secret superpower for years. I just didn't tell anybody what I was doing. So it started when I was a very little kid, and that little bird in my shoulder has saved my life 3 times. Not that I'm counting particularly, but it has saved my life 3 times.
Are you comfortable talking about the environment that you grew up in,
Sure.
child? Just to give a little perspective of what that was like, little you growing up, and having these experiences of intuition.
I was raised by two very pickled people, meaning they were raging alcoholics. So you could connect all the dots you want. The house was very dysfunctional. And I was getting bullied at school because clearly I was different. So I kept everything to myself because I didn't really want to be stuffed into a locker. And in the eighth grade, my parents got a divorce and everything came to a head. So I tried to commit suicide, and a friend of mine talked me out of it. I turned into one of those kids. You know who I'm talking about, those teenagers. And I kind of just floated through life for the next 10 to 15 years until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. Even my mother, God rest her soul, couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out in rehab and we became closer than sisters. We were as tight as any two people on the planet could be. We forgave each other. We did everything together. And then she got breast cancer and she died 3 years later. And I realized then that if I didn't do something, I would probably die too. And my intuition was screaming at me that I needed to change. So I quit drinking. I've now been, it was the only New Year's resolution I actually ever kept. I've been sober as of January, what year is it? 35 years. And in those programs, they tell you you have to do, I think it's the fourth step, and you have to make amends. You have to reach out and call people. Your girl here was very shy back in those days. Today, I think they call me, people in the psychiatric world, they call me, what do they call me? Extroverted introvert. That's it. I'm an extrovert. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I can turn it on and off whenever I want to. Ambivert, maybe. There's so many buzzwords out there now. But I had no desire to call people and say I was sorry and get apologies if they were going to yell at me. I was shy. But I knew forgiveness was really the key. Even back then, my gut was telling me I need to forgive people, and because this anger is holding me back. And the thing about forgiveness is everybody teaches you have to forgive. Teachers, pastors, parents. Okay, but nobody teaches you how. And what if you don't want to? What if it's an unforgivable act? See, on a 10 scale, with 10 being the most horrible person who's done you unforgivable, and 1 being the easiest person in the world, 10 out of 10 people listening to this broadcast right now are all thinking of their number 10s. You're thinking of that one person that really wrecked your world, and that's totally fair. But you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. Why? Because there's a lot of people, places, and things that you could forgive before you even get to that dumpster fire. And I did say places and things. So you'll just have to stay with me.
Excellent. Okay, yeah. So forgiveness. What does forgiveness mean to you?
Okay, first of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean repair. I probably don't want a relationship with you at the end of the day, especially if you're unforgivable, if you're an 8, 9, or 10 level person. Forgiveness, just because I forgive you, and this trips up everybody, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm all of a sudden giving you a free pass and saying you were correct and I'm giving in. Everybody thinks that. I think it stems from the fact of when we were kids in kindergarten, somebody would do something and you'd do something, and the teacher would say, now I want you to forgive each other and then go play. So everybody assumed forgiveness means, okay, I guess I'll give in and now we could go play. It's not true. So forgiveness doesn't mean you were right. You're still wrong. You're still a dumpster fire. In fact, the person that you need forgiveness, they're not even thinking about you. Which, as women, we want you to mope a little bit, don't we? We want you to wallow a little bit. We don't want you to go out and have fun. Wallow with me. But your life is wrecked. They're not thinking about it, but they're in your head. They're in your mind. It's all you can think about. You're eating tons of Ben and Jerry's ice cream just to get through the day. I'm just saying. So forgiveness, the formal definition for me personally means I want you out of my head. That's it. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop talking about you. I want you out of my head. That's what it is. Forgiveness is selfish. It's a selfish act. You do it for you. You don't do it for them. And you don't have to contact anybody. You can do this in the privacy of your own home. Now, if you want to reach out and contact people, knock yourself out. That's fine. I didn't feel the need to do that. And because it doesn't matter where they are, because you're alone in a room forgiving for you, you can forgive dead people because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick. If they're alive and well in your head, it can be forgiven.
Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like, from what you're saying, that forgiveness is more for yourself and your
Yes.
own love than it is for the other person.
It's never for the other person. Now, if it's a parent like your mother, for example, and you would like to see if you could repair that relationship, knock yourself out. But forgiveness, forgiving your mom or your dad or your best friend or whoever you're forgiving, it's selfish. You do it for you. You don't do it for them. You do it because you want that memory out of your head. You want the person out of your head. See, if you use the system that I've come up with, whoever came up with forgive and forget, not so much. I don't know one person on the planet that can forget. I'm originally from New York. I live in the South now, but I'm a New Yorker. We're not forgetting anything. So, what I can promise you is the emotional reaction will be deleted. You won't forget them, but you will have no emotional reaction when you see their name or see them in face to face. You won't care. It'll be neutral. And quite frankly, that's what I'm going for. I'm going for neutrality. I don't want you to be happy. I don't want you to be sad. I want you not to care. That's what I want. You won't care.
And you made this discovery for yourself, right? So
Oh, I did.
how did your life change after you made that discovery?
When we discovered, it was some friends of mine and we discovered the special sauce. And if you're into Reiki, you're gonna love the special sauce. But once I went through the system and I figured everything out, I actually did the exercises in my book. I actually did them myself. And I went through my past and I forgave everybody from the sandbox when I was a kid all the way to present day. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. You know, you're not going to get a number 10 level person down to a 1 overnight. It's going to take a minute. And we'll go over the system. I'll lead you through it step by step. But when I did it, before I did it, I could look back at my childhood and I could see the dysfunction. I could tell you some dysfunctional stories. I could make you laugh with the stories, you know. And now I look back and I suppose I could remember them if I really had to, but now I see love that was back there. I see adults who are trying to help that young kid in high school in the 8th grade. I see the adults who were there trying to help. And I remember the love that was there all along. So did I change my childhood? Did I change the shades of the past? Yeah, I did because I can't remember the dysfunction as much anymore and I don't care. I actually see the love. Most of my family's dead, but if they were alive, I could look at pictures of my parents and I don't feel anything anymore. I just feel the love. That's all I feel now. And that's what this is. This system is going to bring you. It's going to bring you peace. It's going to bring you joy. And the reason you don't have it now is because you're so focused on the anger, it's all you can see. So you're missing things. You're missing your dream significant other. You're missing that money making opportunity. Why? Because you're so focused on the anger in your stories and you're so hyper focused on it, you're missing what's going on around you. So by working my system and starting with the easy ones and working your way up to the unforgivables, your world's going to start to open up. You're going to start to feel better. The energy is going to start to lift.
Would you say that a piece of it, because I find this for myself, is forgiving yourself for having you be in that situation in the first place?
Quite often, one of your number 10s will be you. And this is the first book of 3. And my next book, which I'm actually writing as we speak, is How to Forgive Yourself and How to Forgive Money. Hello. But how to forgive yourself, that's a bear because there might be stuff back there that you're just holding on to. So my answer is the same. And when you work the system, instead of writing down the 10 people that you need to forgive, I want you to write down the 10 memories that you think you need to forgive yourself for. It's the same principle, except now it's going to all be about you.
Yeah, excellent. So what are the steps to this process?
Well, the first thing the first thing to explain is a lot of people listening, including yourself, you've done the work, you have forgiven people. You have. Honest to God, I have people come to me all the time said I did forgive them. Yes, you did. But they have a nasty habit of not staying forgiven. And you keep getting angry a second and a third time, especially if they're family, right? Family really pushes your buttons, or an ex-business partner or an ex-lover, whatever. Well, that the reason that they're still coming into your life is because you didn't forgive the energy. Einstein and Whitney, you're going to get this immediately, but Einstein clearly proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. So when you get angry, you really, I have a whole science chapter on this to back up everything I'm saying for the naysayers. But Einstein, when you get angry, you think it leaves your mouth and it just dissipates magically in the universe. Sadly, it does not. It hangs in your energy field. And the more anger and bitterness and resentment you hold on to and you don't clear because I can manage my anger, it's not affecting me at all. Well, yeah, it is because it's hanging around your energy field. So instead of being able to see clearly through a clear glass, you're actually looking through an opaque glass. You're kind of looking, you're living your life through a black cloud. You're missing stuff because you can't see them. You're so focused on the anger. So what my process does is my mantra is very, very simple. I completely forgive Whitney. I completely forgive the energy around Whitney. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire situation. And so it is. Amen. Godspeed. End it any way you like. That's actually the actual mantra that I say. I want you to put your hand in your heart when you say it because the words are just for the humans. It's the energy behind the words. So to do the system, I want you to sit down and I want you with a pen and paper. And I understand you want to pick up your phone and just text, write your list in your phone. You can do that, but I'd rather you did it with a pen and paper because there have been hundreds of studies that have proved that when you write it down physically with a pen onto paper, it does something really magical in your brain. So just bite the bullet, get a piece of paper and a pen and write down your list of the people of who you think you need to forgive. Okay? And I don't even think twice about it. Whatever names you write down, do it. I had my best friend did this and she wrote down a little red wagon. Had no memory of a little red wagon, but there it was on the list. So she forgave a little red wagon. She had no idea why. It was possibly something from her childhood. And then I want you to rate the people on the list from 1 to 10. Now you can have 20 number sevens if you want. I don't care. It's your party. We can do this any way you want. You could skip a number. All good to me. But I want you to start the mantra with the number ones. And I want you to work your way up to the number 10s. And as you forgive, after you say the mantra, this is like an onion. And onions have many, many, many layers. This is going to take a minute for some of the higher numbers. You're not going to get a number 10 down to a 1 overnight. Not going to happen. It might take weeks. And we'll talk about the unforgivables and how to forgive the unforgivables in a minute. But if you're talking about like a number 1, 2, I want you to check in with your body after you say the mantra. Are you still angry? Or do you feel better? One of my sons says when he did it, his shoulders felt lighter. And he said, it's weird, but they actually felt lighter. Most people get sleepy, which is why I want you to do it before bed. Some people like myself, I feel energy in my solar plexus. For those who don't know, it's kind of above your belly button, right in the middle, right under your chest. It's right there in the middle. You might feel movement there. You probably will feel something. I had another friend do this and she forgave a level 3 person. She checked in with their body. Person jumped up to a 7. Didn't go down, went up. Why did it go up? Well, because your brain is the most beautiful, marvelous tool that we have, and it protects you. So it's looking at you and say, oh, Whitney's ready. Okay, now we're going to have fun. Let's party. I'm going to open that closet in the back of her head that's been padlocked for 30 years, and we're going to flood her with some new memories. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to get a bunch of new memories, and you're going to have to do it again.
And those memories get stored in our body.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why that makes sense that the energy would move and we would feel a lot better.
Well, there's also the adage, anger is toxic and will make you sick. Okay, how? Don't just tell me these things. Tell me how. Well, there was a study done by a Japanese researcher called Masumoto. I can't remember his name. It's something like that. But if you Google Japanese water study, you will find the pictures virtually immediately. And what the guy did is he took several containers of water. One container of water, all he did was talk to it, spoke love words to it, told it he loved it and how beautiful it was. The other container of water, he spoke hate, nasty, bitterness, the worst words in the world, called it, said everything nasty to it. Then he froze the water and put it under a microscope. The water that he spoke love to actually had these beautiful crystal formations, gorgeous. The water he spoke hate to had malformations of black and brown. I mean, they were really ugly. So why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So when you have negative self-talk and you're angry and you're holding on to the bitterness, what do you think it's doing to the water cells in your body? It's making you sick. So when you forgive, those water cells, those cells have to, politely said, go somewhere. So I only want you to do maybe 5 at a time, maybe 10. And my friend Katie will say, do 2. And when I first did this, I wrote my list. I must have had 50 people on the list. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to be a butterfly. And I'm going to forgive all these people in one shot. And tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm going to be brand new Catherine. Okay, yeah, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I did forgive a lot of people on the list. However, I spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was the stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. It was my body trying to release all the anger energy it had been storing for decades. And that's the only way it knew how. So if you are in the bathroom after doing this for a few people, you did not eat a piece of bad fish. Give yourself a break. It's just your body expelling those water cells and all of the cells in your body, and you will be fine. Just drink some water and go and sleep. But your body heals itself at night when it's sleeping, which is why I want you to do this at night.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And also, it sounds simple in a way to connect these dots, but
It's
often
it's
don't.
it is a simple process. This forgiveness, it's really not hard. And the reason I want you to start with the number ones and work your way up is because those number 10s, the unforgivables, they are hard. They're a bear. And if you're one of your number 10s, if you've got like 3 number 10s and your own name is one of them, it's a bear. It's 100% bear. So you start with the ones who are super easy and you work your way up. And as you work your way up to the list, you're going to start to feel better. You might start, your life is going to change. But as your life changes, I have to give you a little heads up. As you change for the better and you become happier and start living a more joyful life, people, and this happened to me, people in your life are going to do one of 3 things. They're either going to join you and say, I like the new you. What are you doing? I want it too. They're going to look at you and say inside themselves, they're going to say, I don't like the new her. And they're going to leave like jackrabbits. I had like a dozen girlfriends, just I've never heard from them again. 4 of them, never again. They just left. And then you're going to have the saboteurs, who mostly family members usually, who like the old you, don't want you to change because that might force them to change. They don't want to change, so they're going to try and sabotage it. So stick to your guns. You know, the beauty of it is like energy attracts like energy. So as you change, new people who are better for you are going to morph into your life. I have some soul sisters in my life now that are like family. And as I changed, these wonderful women just magically came into my life. I've been married for 33 years. He's still here because he changed with me. We're all kind of dancing the same dance at this time. But when people leave your life, it's like a gut punch, man. It's, it's going to hurt, but new people will be on the horizon. And if you're living with a number 10 unforgivable person, you might want to find another place to live, with all due respect. Women's shelter, someplace. I would suggest getting out.
Yeah. So as people depart and arrive into your life, then that's kind of a sign that the work is happening.
Yes, it is. You might lose some weight. You might come into a bunch of money. You might find a new career. All these things are possible. Why? Because you're paying attention now. You're not paying attention on the stories and your childhood and that business partner who hurt you. Oh, that was were mine. Never mind. But you might have a similar story. But, I'm also a cancer survivor. So let's talk about the unforgivables. You can forgive people, places, and things. I forgave 1974. Why did I forgive 1974, the actual year? I said 1974. I forgive 1974. I forgive the energy around 1974. That was the year I tried to commit suicide. And I did pick apart the memories of that year, the people and the places. But then at the end, it was still bugging me. So I forgave the actual year. You can forgive anything. So let's talk about one of mine. Let's say my childhood bully, for example. Okay. And I won't say her name, but we'll just talk about her. And it was bugging me. I'm a 63-year-old woman, but when I did this exercise, I was in my late 50s. And I was looking back at my childhood that happened in the 1970s, and I'm thinking, this is really ridiculous. It happened decades and decades ago. Why is this bothering me? I'm an adult. Yet it was. It was. It was like a movie playing in the back of my head that you don't even know is there. And it's just, you can't turn it off because you don't know it's there. So if the memory is still bothering you and you're not ready to forgive the bully, try and forgive the energy only. Just forgive the energy around the person, not the person itself. And then wait 24 hours and see how that feels. If you can't forgive any of it, then for the next week, I want you to repeat after me. I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. Say that every day for a week. And eventually you're going to start thinking of people and you're going to start creating your list of people that you might want to forgive. And if you still can't forgive the bully, well, then I want you to pick apart the memory. We'll do it memory by memory. So I sat down and I forgave the actual school building and the energy around the building, because science has also proved that everything, including the microphone right in front of me, everything has energy around it. So I forgave the building and the energy around the building. I forgave the table, the desk, the chair. I forgave the park. I forgave the swing set. I forgave the people that stood around and didn't help. And then I continued to do that for a week or two, and eventually I was able to forgive the bully, but the bully was a number 10. So it took me a couple months. I mean, I had the 10 went down to a 9, and then some more memories came up and it went down to an 8, that kind of thing. And as the memories came up, I would pick apart the memory and forgive the things and the places that were within that memory. This is a marathon, not a sprint, especially with those unforgivable people, which is why I want you to start with the easy ones, because you're going to start to feel better. And it's going to be, by the time you get to those number 10s, you're going to be ready for it. You're going to be prepared and you'll be ready to do the work. Now, what if you could never forgive them? In my humble opinion, for what it's worth, I legitimately think there are people and situations that are unforgivable. Period. And I believe that. And I also think we're all kind of unique snowflakes, meaning we're all different. And your unforgivable level might be different than mine, which is totally fair, and that's totally fine. You don't have to forgive the unforgivable. But I would like you to forgive the memory and pick out the pieces. I'd like you to go back to that memory and forgive the park, the table, the chair. I want you to forgive yourself, hello, and the energy around all of these things. Forgive what you can and keep going. If you could circle back later, do it. If you can't, be kind to yourself. It might be one of those unforgivable people.
Yeah.
And if it's a family member, remember what I said at the beginning. Forgiveness does not mean you want a relationship with this person. You probably don't. It does not mean repair.
Mhm. What is it that you think makes someone or something unforgivable?
I think it's everybody's different. If you're talking about women, it might be, and I apologize, but you did ask the question.
Yeah.
It could be a rapist. It could be somebody murdered a family member. It could be a bully in school that you just can't bring yourself to. It could be your mother. Your father, who might have did something, they were alcoholics, they were drug addicts, they abandoned you. Everybody's different. Some people can forgive those things. Some people can't. Everybody's level of pain and tolerance is different. And if you can't forgive your parents for whatever they did, that's fine. Forgive some of the memories. Forgive that one Thanksgiving when your father lectured you through the whole thing. Okay, you can't forgive your father? Forgive the table, forgive the chairs, forgive the turkey. Not kidding. I'm actually not kidding. Forgive the glasses, forgive the building, forgive the walls, forgive the kitchen. And it may sound like I'm crazy, but I can't tell you how much peace that's going to bring you.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about maybe compassion and how that fits into here? Because
Be compassionate for. I am not a religious person, but there is one passage in the Bible that got me to forgive my parents. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. And I've always thought what he meant by that is if you're in the 5th grade and you have not learned algebra, I can't get mad at you for not knowing algebra because you haven't learned it yet. My parents did the best they could with the tools they had at the time. Was it good enough? No, it wasn't. But they did the best they could. I can forgive that. I can forgive that little piece. Is there a piece of them that I will probably never be able to forgive? Probably. Will it come up eventually? Sure. Will I forgive it? Maybe. Depends what it is. But you can forgive, I can forgive them for being, they did the best they could. It wasn't good enough, but they did the best they could. And that for me is the compassion that I'm showing for people. What if it was a rapist? I don't know. I was raped. Did I forgive the rapist? Not yet. I was in college at the time. Some of these things are unforgivable acts. It's very hard. But it's also, I'm a breast cancer survivor, breast stage 3. I've been clean for 12 years. I forgave breast cancer and the energy around breast cancer. I forgave the chemo drips. I forgave that red chemo stuff that caused me to lose my hair and look like Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. I forgave the chemo chair. I forgave the drip. I forgave radiation in the slab. I forgave the doctors and the nurses and all these things. And I can't tell you what that did for my recovery. It allowed me to be positive and focus on what I needed to focus. I forgave myself for getting cancer. Was it my fault? We'll never know. Nobody knows why you get it. We can connect some dots. Maybe it's the environment. Maybe it's chemical. Maybe it's genetic. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I can't control what I get, but I can control how I get through it. And it's much more fun to laugh than to cry.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are we in the process?
Well, when you sit down to do this, I want you to be alone. Inside, outside, your favorite chair. I usually am sitting in the middle of my bed because I do it before bedtime. I want you to turn, this is a hard one, I know, but the cell phone, I kind of want it off. There's an off button. And if you're going cold and you're turning pale at the thought, okay, there's also a mute button. Not vibrate, because when it vibrates, the damn darn thing is going to dance in the desk and you're going to get distracted. So mute button, just remember to turn the mute button off. And then I want you to start with the very first person, a level 1 person. We'll use one of mine. Girl that I grew up with, and we were best friends in grammar school. No memory of why we broke up. And I thought, this is going to be easy. This is easy. 1970s, I could forgive this person. I could, level 1, right? So I want you to imagine the person is standing in front of your bed or your chair, but I want you to see the person as they were back then, not the adult that they are today. I want you to dive into that memory. And then if you want to let them have it verbally, do it. And if you can't imagine the person in your mind's eye, put a chair in front of you and talk to the chair. Not kidding. Not everybody can imagine, like, can you see your childhood bedroom in your mind right now? Can you see the color of the walls and the bed?
Yeah.
That's actually clairvoyance. It doesn't mean you're going to see a ghost like Stephen King in the next 10 minutes. It merely means your intuition appears. You notice things. You see things through your eyes. I hear things. I'm actually three of them. But if you can't really see the person in your mind's eye, then just talk to a chair. And then say whatever you want to say. This is your party. You can cry, you can scream, you can say anything you want. And then when you're done, say the mantra that I just said. And I want you to imagine that they leave the room, not toward the window, because that bothered me. I can't imagine somebody floating out the window. I was on the second floor. I was like, no. So I had to imagine, it's a little thing, but I had to imagine that they left through the door. That's just one of my hiccups. And then go on to then check in with your body. How do you feel? Do you feel like the one is now gone? Or do you feel like the one is now a three, maybe some more memories? If the one is now gone, cross their name off and go to the next. If they're not gone, wait 24 hours and do it again. Now that level 1 person, here's a little brain stretching for people. I actually did forgive that girl. And we hadn't spoken to each other in well over 30 years, maybe 40. 2 hours after I said that mantra, she called me on the phone. Almost fell out of my chair. Now, I'm one of the founders of the independent concierge industry, which translates means I've trained a lot of concierge all over the world. So my concierge training completely kicked in virtually immediately. And I masked my shock. And we said all the right things and words and did all the right noises and all that kind of stuff. But I had to know. I'm a curious little bear. And I said, after all these years, why did you call me today? She said, it was the damnedest thing. Excuse my language. It was the darndest thing. 2 hours ago, which was exactly when I was saying my mantra, a figurine you gave me in school flew off my shelf and landed in the middle of my floor. And I saw it and thought I should give you a call. We were 700 miles away. So if forgiveness energy has the power to move a figurine all the way across the other side of the United States, what do you think it's going to do to your body? And what do you think is going to happen to your life when you get up to the higher numbers? This is powerful energy that works whether you believe it in or not. It's like the law of gravity. I can call the law of gravity the law of keeping Whitney on the planet. It doesn't care. It's going to still work. Well, I don't believe in the law of gravity. It still doesn't care. It's still going to work. So even if you don't think it worked when you make that first pass to forgive somebody, oh, it worked all right. You just got rid of the first layer. Keep going.
Yeah, very powerful.
It is very powerful stuff. It is very powerful. And remember, you can forgive anything. Now, some men, it's always men, no disrespect intended, but it's always the men. For some reason, many of the men will look at me and say, I have nobody to forgive. Okay, let's talk about that too. Do you like football? Yes, this was a specific person I have in mind. Yes, I love football. Did your team win or lose last week? Oh, we lost. Okay, forgive the football team. There you go. Did somebody cut you off on I-95 South at any point? Yeah, forgive that person. That's a level 1 person. Did you get shopping cart road rage at the grocery store because somebody cut you off on aisle 3? Forgive that person. It's the little things. You can forgive politicians, dare I say. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What is it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing, but it's going to do a lot to you because it's going to alleviate that anger. You don't have to make a list of your personal people if you don't think you have any personal people to write down. Write a list of the stuff that's going on in the world and forgive all of that.
Right. And then
We're humans. We're never done. I still do the process to this day, except I've been doing it a very, very long time. So I can do it on the fly, and I can do more than 10 just because I'm used to it. But when you first start this process, Katie will say 2 to 3 people, and I'll give you some leeway. You can do up to 10 with the little numbers. But when you get up past 7, probably only do 1 or 2 a night so you don't make yourself sick. I know that's a lot.
yeah, so
It's a lot to process. I get it.
it's also, to me, it's very exciting to have practical tools to be able
Yep.
to.
It's a step-by-step system. And of course, there's worksheets and stuff in the book that you could use, but this is a practical step-by-step way of actually forgiving people. And why do you want to do this? Because it's going to change your life. The person you came down to the planet to be, you're not that person yet, possibly because you're living in anger. So this is going to remove the anger so you can finally be your authentic self. You can finally be the person you were meant to be. We are not meant to live in a refrigerator box on the street. We're meant to be happy. We're meant to have a place to live. We're meant to have joyful people around us. We're meant to be able to have plenty of food and all of these other things. We're not meant to starve. So by forgiving all of these things, and you can forgive the economic conditions that got you to where you are, you can forgive those things. It's not just it's people, places, things. You can forgive society if you want. It's all forgivable, and it will open up your life.
Yes. Could you talk a little bit more about like your journey and how this process has changed your life going forward from this process of forgiveness?
I have been known to say, and it's going to be sound a little funny, but I have been known to say to people that getting stage 3 triple positive breast cancer was possibly the best thing that ever happened to me. Now, why in the world would I say that? It was horrific. I mean, they threw everything at me. I was sick for 4 years. But if I hadn't gone through it, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have learned about I was always into forgiveness. I used to teach it in workshops years ago, but I didn't have that energy piece, which was the piece that was always missing. And I didn't have the step-by-step guide. I was just telling people to forgive and why they should, but I wasn't teaching them how. Nobody taught them how. We were just taught to forgive. And at the end of the day, once I figured out the energy piece and we figured out the step-by-step system, it changed everything. It changed my outlook at life. I literally, not kidding, can look back at my life and I see the love that was there in every decade. I could see the love that was there when I had cancer. Now, when I look back at cancer, do I remember all the horrible things? Well, yeah, you don't forget that stuff. But I still can remember the loving nurses that were around me and my family that actually, I remember the jackrabbits who left, but I actually remember the people that were around me. And that's what this process does. It's going to replace all these things with love and peace and compassion and joy. And those negative emotions, well, I was taught in the 1970s to stuff the negative emotions into the back of your head. I'll give you something to cry about. Don't you cry was the kind of what we were all taught, right? And what I'm telling you to do is I want you to bring those emotions out of your head and take a look at them and forgive them. I understand you don't want to go back to your childhood because it was horrific. I get it. I lived that. But I'm only asking you to go back once or twice more and then it'll be gone forever. And you'll be free. You'll be free to do whatever you want. And that's what it did for me. It freed me. I'm
How
not
did
that angry kid everybody anymore. I was an angry kid. I was always sick and always tired. And once I've learned how to forgive, well, contrary to what the medical doctors might tell you, I'm actually very, very healthy today. I'm completely cured of cancer and I'm very healthy. That's what it did for me. Now I eat clean and I do all the right things, but I do that because I'm not focused on my family and the anger anymore.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How has releasing all of this energy affected your intuition?
It's made it clearer.
Yeah.
I'm clairvoyant, claircognizant, clairsentient, and I'm very empathic. So I was born clairaudient, which merely means it's called clear hearing, which means I just hear things that other people don't. Clairvoyant means that you see the world. So everybody in the world is intuitive. You either feel it, see it, know it, or you just sense it. You go into a room and it just feels off. Why? Okay, well, leave. We were thinking of relocating. We wanted to downsize. I'm actually in Wilmington now, but we thought about moving to the mountains. This was a couple of years ago. And so we went to Asheville and we looked at neighborhoods, felt off. I loved Asheville. It's beautiful. The people are gorgeous. Everything about it was saying you should live here. I couldn't. It felt wrong. I couldn't put a pin in it. Didn't know why. So we ended up moving to Wilmington. And last year, a hurricane went through Western Carolina and destroyed everything. So the little bird in your shoulder, trust it when it talks to you. It also saved my life. Years ago in 2011, all of a sudden I started to hear you need to jog. I'm allergic to exercise. I have been since I was a kid. You want me to do what? And I argued with it, but I couldn't get out of my head. You need to run, you need to run. So finally, just to shut it up, because I knew it wouldn't shut up unless I actually did it, I tried the Couch to 5K running program, which is legit and is great. It's right online. And I ended up running a 5K. And I went from a size 14 down to an 8, and I knew the weight was coming off too quick. And the day before my birthday in 2012, I found a lump, and it was a huge lump, and it was stage 3 breast cancer. And the surgeon told me if I hadn't lost all that weight, because it was in such a very, very odd place, I would be dead if I hadn't taken up the running and if I hadn't lost weight. So when with that little bird on your shoulder, you can learn to talk to it. You can learn to either talk to it. My advice is just to sit down, and while you're writing your list of people you want to forgive, while you're still in that zone, do some guided writing. Just put your pen on the paper and just whatever floats into your head, write it down. Could be a memory, could be a color, it could be people, it could be a string of words. Doesn't matter. Just write. Don't judge it. Don't even think where it's coming from. Just write. And before you know it, you'll be having a conversation. I wrote a book about that too. I've written 12 books, so take your
Wow.
pick.
Wow. Fantastic. I don't want to talk about your writing process because that's a whole different topic, but it is your intuition and your voice.
It is. Most of my books have been, I mean, people use the word channeled, but they're all guided writing. I wrote a book called Rainbows and Banana Peels, which is about my breast cancer journey. And I wrote that in the chemo chair because I was bored. And then I wrote a book called The Little Bird in Your Shoulder, which teaches people how to tap into their intuition. And then my book on forgiveness, which is The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, which has a step-by-step system. And all of these books were kind of given to me. The energy piece, the forgiveness system was given to me. I literally heard it. Who gave it to me? Well, that's a whole nother podcast, isn't it?
I think so. Maybe there will be a part 2 in the future.
There you go.
So if people would like to read your books, where could we guide them to be able
You
to?
can go to Amazon. I have, for 2 of the books, the forgiveness books and the Little Bird book, I do have the audiobook available, but I have paperbacks and the ebook. I understand not everybody likes to read, so the audiobook is there. You could also go to my website, KatharineGiovanni.com, and Katharine is spelled, thanks to my mother, a little bit odd. Thanks, Mom. Katharine Giovanni.com.
Okay, excellent. I'll add those into the show notes so people can click on them really easily. And thank you for all of your wisdom. I have one last question that I usually ask to wrap up the conversation. And sometimes it can be a sentence, and sometimes it can go on to another tangent, and either is fine. There's no right or wrong answer. If your inner voice had a billboard, what would it say to the world?
What a great question. If my inner voice had a billboard, what would it say to the world? Trust yourself. I think it would want people to trust themselves. And I think it would want to say to everybody, you are worthy enough to live a life of joy. You are worthy enough to live a life of happiness. It's your birthright. We're not meant to be poor. We're not meant to be, destitute. So I think the billboard would say you are worthy and you've got this, and to trust yourself, trust the guidance that you're being given.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed
My
it.
pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you're listening and you like what you hear, please consider subscribing and rating this podcast, as it really helps get this podcast out to other people who might be interested in hearing it but don't know about it yet. And also, if you'd like to contact me or reach me, you can reach me at unconditioningpodcast@gmail.com or unconditioningpodcast on Instagram. Thank you so much, and until next time, stay tuned in to you.